Laura Mitchell pressed her forehead against the cold viewing port and watched her transport ship drift away in pieces. The explosion had been small but effective, tearing through the engine compartment like a knife through paper. Now she floated aboard Outpost Venara, a massive alien space station on the edge of civilized space, completely stranded. The station hummed with activity around her as dozens of alien species moved through the corridors. Most ignored her completely, while others stared with expressions she could not read. Humans were rare this far from Earth, and Laura suspected many had never seen one before. She needed parts to repair her ship, but had no currency and no contacts. The station master, a blob-like creature with too many eyes, had been less than helpful. Laura made her way through the market district where vendors sold everything from weapons to exotic foods. The air smelled strange, a mixture of ozone and something sweet that made her nose itch. She stopped at a parts dealer and examined the inventory with growing frustration. Nothing matched her ship's specifications, and the dealer quoted prices that would bankrupt her 3 times over. A shadow fell across her, and Laura turned to find herself staring at a muscular silver torso. She tilted her head back and met glowing amber eyes set in an angular face. The alien woman stood at least 7 feet tall with broad shoulders and arms that looked capable of bending steel. Her skin had a metallic sheen and her hair fell in dark waves down her back. Laura swallowed hard, but refused to show fear. The alien spoke in a deep voice that rumbled like distant thunder. Laura's translator. Implant kicked in after a moment. The alien introduced herself as Zyreth. A warrior of the Kethran people. Zyreth had been watching Laura struggle with the parts dealer and found it amusing. She asked what a fragile little human was doing so far from home. Laura bristled at the word fragile but kept her voice steady. She explained her situation and mentioned needing access to the lower levels where salvage parts might be available. Zyreth laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. The lower levels were dangerous, filled with criminals and outcasts who would kill for much less than whatever valuables Laura carried. No human could survive down there, alone. Laura met the alien's eyes without flinching. She had survived worse and would find a way with or without help. Something shifted in Zyreth's expression. The warrior woman studied Laura for a long moment before making an offer. She would guide Laura through the lower levels in exchange for information about human technology. The Kethrans had heard rumors of Earth's engineering capabilities, but never had direct access to someone with knowledge. Laura agreed immediately, knowing she had no better options. They descended into the station's depths through maintenance shafts and forgotten corridors. The air grew thicker, and the lighting flickered uncertainly. Zyreth moved with fluid grace despite her size, while Laura had to jog to keep up. They passed through territories marked by crude symbols and scattered debris. Strange sounds echoed from side passages, and Laura glimpsed movement in the shadows. Zyreth kept one hand on her weapon but seemed unconcerned. They reached a salvage yard filled with broken ships and scattered components. Laura immediately began searching through the wreckage while Zyreth stood guard. The human's hands moved quickly, sorting through parts and checking compatibility. She found several promising pieces and began collecting them in a makeshift bag. A group of scavengers emerged from behind a pile of scrap metal. 6 aliens of various species surrounded them with weapons. Drawn, their leader demanded everything valuable, including Laura herself, as she would fetch a good price on certain markets. Zyreth stepped forward with her weapon ready, but Laura held up a hand. She asked for 1 minute and pulled a small device from her toolkit. The scavengers laughed but allowed her the time out of curiosity. Laura worked quickly, connecting wires to several power cells she had found in the salvage. She attached the assembly to a piece of metal plating and set it on the ground between them and the scavengers. When she activated it, every weapon the scavengers held suddenly died. Their energy weapons went dark and their projectile weapons jammed simultaneously. Laura had created an electromagnetic pulse generator from spare parts in under 60 seconds. The scavengers stared in shock before fleeing into the darkness. Zyreth looked at Laura with new respect in her amber eyes. The warrior admitted she had never seen anyone disable threats so efficiently without violence. Laura smiled and said violence was just one solution, and often not the best one. They continued deeper, into the lower levels. Collecting more parts as they went, Zyreth asked questions about Earth and human culture. Laura shared stories about her home planet while working. She explained how humans had learned to thrive in hostile environments through adaptation and creativity. Xerath listened carefully, processing this information against everything her people believed about humanity. They entered a section of the station that had been abandoned for years. The walls showed signs of damage from an old battle. As they crossed a large chamber, the floor suddenly gave way beneath them. Laura grabbed onto a support beam while Xerath caught herself on the opposite side between them. The floor had collapsed into a pit filled with sharp debris. They could not reach each other and the gaps were too wide to jump. Laura studied the problem while Xerath watched with interest. The human pulled cable from her toolkit and began constructing something. Within minutes, she had fashioned a grappling system using a magnetic clamp and tension springs. She fired it across the gap, and it locked onto Xerath's side. Laura secured her end and created a zipline bridge. She crossed first to prove it would hold. Then Xerath followed. The alien warrior commented that most species would have panicked. Laura shrugged and said, "Panic solved nothing." They found the main part Laura needed in a storage room near the abandoned section. As Laura worked to extract it, armed figures surrounded them. These were not scavengers but station security officers. Their leader accused Laura of theft and sabotage. The officer claimed human ships had been causing problems, and Laura's destroyed vessel was clearly an act of aggression. Laura protested, but the security team raised their weapons. Xerath moved to defend her but took a plasma bolt to the shoulder. The warrior woman collapsed, and Laura rushed to her side. The security officers advanced, confident the threat had been neutralized. Laura's mind raced as she examined Xerath's wound. The plasma had burned deep, and the alien's silver blood flowed freely. She had minutes at most before blood loss became critical. Laura pulled medical supplies from her pack with shaking hands. She had basic training but had never treated an alien before. She worked by instinct, applying pressure and using a cauterizing tool from her kit to seal the wound. The security officers watched in confusion as Laura worked frantically to save Xerath's life. She mixed a coagulant paste from 3 different medical compounds, hoping the combination would work on Kethran biology. Laura applied the paste and wrapped the wound tightly. Xerath's eyes fluttered open after a few tense moments. The warrior woman looked at Laura with surprise. No one had ever risked themselves to save a Kethran before. Most species feared them too much to care. Laura helped Xerath sit up and turned to face the security officers with anger in her eyes. She demanded to know why they had attacked without provocation. The lead officer seemed uncertain now, having expected the human to flee. Laura pressed her advantage, stating that she had done nothing wrong. She was collecting salvage from abandoned areas, which was legal under station regulations. The officer claimed Laura's ship had been sabotaged by station maintenance as part of a secret program. Human vessels contained valuable technology that could be stolen and sold. Laura's expression hardened as she processed this information. She asked if the officer really wanted to admit to piracy and attempted murder in front of witnesses. The security team exchanged nervous glances. Xerath struggled to her feet with Laura's help, the warrior woman's presence. Even injured made the officers step back. Xerath declared that Laura Mitchell was under her personal protection. Any action against the human would be considered an act of war against the Kethran people. The officers retreated quickly, knowing they could not stand against a Kethran warrior. Laura supported Xerath as they made their way back to the upper levels. The journey took hours, and Laura had to stop frequently to let Xerath rest. The alien warrior seemed impressed by Laura's determination. Despite obvious exhaustion, they reached Laura's damaged ship by dawn station time. Laura helped Xerath into the cargo bay before beginning repairs. She worked through the day, installing the salvage parts and rerouting systems. Xerath watched from where she rested, asking questions about the repair process. Laura explained each step, teaching the alien about human engineering principles. By evening, the ship hummed back to life. Laura ran diagnostics while Xerath tested her injured shoulder. The warrior woman declared she would be fine, thanks to Laura's quick thinking. Laura prepared to depart, but Xerath stopped her with a question. The alien wanted to know if Laura would consider returning to teach other Kethrans. The warrior people could learn much from human methods. Laura looked at the massive alien woman and saw not a fearsome warrior, but a friend. She agreed without hesitation, promising to return within a few months. Xyrith smiled, an expression that transformed her fierce features. The warrior said humans were stronger than anyone gave them credit for. True strength came not from muscles but from the refusal to surrender. Laura launched her shh